called his manhood into question. And if you're sitting in Donald Trump's seat, you'll say, listen, people have been coming after me from the point I ran for office. Snoop Dogg did a video with a gun to his head, and you have Democrats who are going through impeachment. They call him a racist, a sexist, a Nazi. They did a 2-year impeachment. They said he colluded with Russia. So I think you put all those things together, and I come from a place that we fancy ourselves, maybe unlike New York, we kind of think we're nice in Wisconsin and Minnesota. But what I see people saying there, Chris, is, yeah, I might not love all of the fights that he's in, but I love that he's fighting and pushing back against people, whether it's the media or Democrats, who are unfair to him.
Well, here's
otherwise
the thing,
he just
Sean,
gets railroaded.
I hear you. I don't think he gets railroaded. He's the most powerful person in the world. He pulls the strings, which is why we haven't even heard from the people who know most about the Ukraine situation. So he's doing fine. Okay, he's president of the United States. 2 things. One, I don't believe in this equivalency that a president has to act like who his critics are. The president is the biggest man in the room. The biggest man in the room does not behave like the people who are coming at him, right? You ever hear the expression, the lion is not concerned by the complaints of the sheep? The second thing is, Sean, you guys will say, well, we don't like everything he says. No, you never say that you don't like what he says. None of you will say he should not have said that about Nancy Pelosi. It was an ugly remark that is beneath the presidency. None of you have said it.
But Chris, I think what you don't recognize is the fact that many Republicans feel like this is a one-sided conversation, and frankly, the media and Democrats are the lion. And they're going after the president nonstop. He hasn't had one break.
So why don't you say Nancy Pelosi's teeth are falling out?
So in a Christmas spirit, though, Chris, I think when do we stop pointing the finger? When do I stop pointing the finger at liberals or media that's not fair to him? And liberals stop saying it's Donald Trump's fault. When do we all say it's our responsibility, whether we're in our homes or our communities or our conversations, to be more respectful with one another? I think that's what it really comes down to.
Because why would I take that message from you when you refuse to call out the person who says the ugliest things most constantly?
So I don't know if you called out Maxine Waters when she said go after them in gas stations and in restaurants, or when they went after Ted Cruz or Sarah Sanders, or I look at conservatives who have been chased out of restaurants. Liberals were banging down the doors of the Supreme Court. You look at the thing. A conservative can't speak on a college campus. I think when you take the picture as a whole, Republicans and conservatives are angry with the way they've been treated. And so that the president is fighting back against at least a perceived unfairness, they're happy about it. Because if you don't fight back, you just get punched in the head day after day after day.
Listen,
and you lose.
Sean, we're not in a bar, okay?
No,
you're the nice Wisconsin guy. I'm the tough guy from Queens, okay? And I don't have 3 guys coming at me in front of my kid every day. When you're on television, when you're in office, you're supposed to be trying to be your best. And I can't believe that your argument is there are people who support the president who feel that he's taking too much criticism, so they are okay with him saying that Nancy Pelosi's teeth are falling out. Where is your high ground morally if you won't call it out?
But do you think it's okay for Nancy Pelosi to call into question his manhood or to call him an imposter?
She says she prays for him every day and doesn't hate him.
Come on.
Why can't he say something gratuitously nice?
But now you're doing what you're saying I'm doing, which is
what?
You're giving her a pass.
I'm not giving her a pass. I think if people say ugly things, you take it out.
Called his manhood into question, and if you're President Trump, that's offensive. Maybe every man is offensive.
But let me ask you this, Sean.
When do we say, hey, well, we should have started with Nancy Pelosi? Because if you recall, when
Sean,
she
I have
first
the
won
answer to your question when you're ready for it.
When she won the speakership, President Trump was generous and extended an arm and said really great things about Nancy Pelosi, and she responded by punching him in the head with comments like I just referenced.
Yeah, okay. Remind me, Sean, are you a Christian?
I think I am, yeah.
And your party, your party basically wants to make Christianity the religion of this country, but certainly the guiding light of its party. And this is my point.
We want the freedom of the freedom to
which often gets translated into the ability to discriminate against others. What I'm saying is this: if you want to hold yourself as a Christian, you can't make any of the arguments you're making right now. Now, I'll give Trump a break. I don't believe that his faith is that important to him. But for the Republican Party to say, hey, man, they're coming at him. He's got to come back same way. Knuckle up, baby. It doesn't matter if it's an 80-year-old woman. He should talk about her teeth falling out. Yeah, it's all good. That's not a Christian way to look at the world.
But let me be clear. I don't think anybody likes how this conversation.
You have not said anything about what he said about Pelosi being wrong, by the way.
But you know what? I haven't. But I also say, if you are fair about looking at the whole picture, the totality of
it's still wrong to say what he said about Nancy Pelosi.
But I would love to come on and say, let's do a segment on all the negative things they've done.
But how does it make what he said okay?
It doesn't.
There's one president. One, Sean.
I know, but as a president who's been under attack, I mean, they did a protest the day after he was inaugurated.
But doesn't how you fight matter?
The White House.
Doesn't it mean something to you that I'm told consistently by members of my profession and my bosses? Remember, I know what he said. You got to be better than him. That a journalist has to have as a constant practice to be better than the President of the United States. What does that tell you about how he behaves?
So, but what I say, though, is, Chris, if we're going to say things about Donald Trump and call him out, it should be calling out everybody.
But you do call out all the others.
I don't see the left getting called out on some of the outrageous and violent. They're chasing Republicans and administration folks out of restaurants. This stuff
is
become
wrong
insane.
when it happens. And if it's Antifa, then they are not protesters. They're rioting thugs and criminals.
They are.
But Sean, this is the difference. If Nancy Pelosi said something like that about Donald Trump, she made a joke about his hair. When comedians do it, when they made fun of Sarah Sanders' weight on this show and shows all over the media. It's wrong. It's too far. It's not funny. Listen.
I think you have, Chris. I think you
have. There's no question we have.
But I know you have. But I don't think if I look at the other networks and other shows, they've done what you've done. I think you're a standout who has been a straight shooter on this stuff, where the others have turned a blind eye to it. And my point to you is, I don't like any of this. I'm a Catholic like you are. I like peace and civility. My mom is a Bernie Sanders supporter. I love her to death. We disagree on politics.